Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Skynet Today's Let's Talk AI podcast. We summarize the news each week so you can know what is actually going on with AI and what is just clickbait headlines. This week we're going to have a nice and short episode with no discussion segment, just our summary due to the holidays. And we'll be back after the new year with our regular format. So going to hand it over to Daniel to give us that summary. Enjoy.
Hello, this is Daniel Bashir here with our weekly news summary. This week, we'll look at an EU watchdog's warnings on AI, tensions at Google, Boston Dynamics, and one entrepreneur's story of dyslexia and AI. On Monday, December 13th, the Vienna-based EU Agency for Fundamental Rights, or FRA, urged policymakers in a report to provide more guidance on how existing laws apply to AI and to ensure that future AI laws protect fundamental rights. As Reuters reports, the FRA report comes as the European Commission considers legislation to cover high-risk sectors like healthcare. In addition to stating that AI rules must respect fundamental rights, the FRA argued for safeguards to include a guarantee that people can challenge decisions made by AI, and that companies should be able to explain how their AI systems make decisions. This comes on the heels, and likely the toes, of a great deal of discussion and controversy about the increasing role and effect of AI on our everyday lives. A recent decision from Google to fire Timnit Gebru, a leading researcher in ethical AI, has drawn a great deal of attention in recent weeks. Tensions between her ethical AI group and Google's executives rose when employees sent a list of demands regarding Gebru's departure. As CNN Business reports, the letter asks for the removal of a Google vice president, for transparency surrounding Gebru's departure, and for apologies from involved Google executives, among other demands. Google had said earlier on Wednesday, December 9th, that it would examine Gebru's departure and assess the circumstances that led to it. But the response hasn't satisfied many who support Gebru and her research. Tensions only seem primed to rise further. Last week, Hyundai announced a deal to acquire a controlling interest in robotics company Boston Dynamics, in which it will take an 80% stake. Tech Talks observes that Boston Dynamics has had a complicated history as a company, having changed hands multiple times before this deal. While Boston Dynamics has started selling its quadrupedal robot Spot for a hefty price of over $70,000 earlier this year, the research lab is far from turning a profit. But Hyundai seems to be betting on the long term. The sort of robots that Boston Dynamics is building that can interact with and manipulate their environment will require a great deal of investment and support to create. The acquisition has the benefit of giving Boston Dynamics a much better chance at survival, but it might require it to become a bit more boring and product-focused. And finally, a story. Tech entrepreneur Tabitha Goldstaub writes for The Guardian about how AI helped her overcome her dyslexia. AI-enabled apps like SwiftKey and Grammarly have helped her with daily tasks like writing, by providing more helpful recommendations than inbuilt spelling and grammar checks can. But apps don't always work, so Goldstaub also needs human support. While she sees the rewards of AI, she also sees its pitfalls and understands its bias against underrepresented groups. While she acknowledges that AI is going to be, and in some ways already is, everywhere, Goldstaub encourages readers to learn how to adapt and thrive in this new world, especially by learning how to work with technologies that use AI. That's all for this week's news roundup.
And it's back to me to say thank you for listening. This has been exciting to have a podcast start this year and to have some number of listeners, and we have very little idea of what it's like. And we'll be back next year talking with me and Sharon and potentially other guests as before. And so please do rate the podcast, even email us to give us your thoughts. We are very curious to hear who listens and who has enjoyed it so far. But besides that, I'm just going to say happy holidays and do tune in to our future episodes.